Hello, this is Troy with Coast Universe, back again with another little bit of a different video. I know I've gotten a lot of comments reaching out on how to properly build the Top Thrill Dragster and the KingDa Nanocoasters, because the structures, if you haven't gotten it yet, they're a little bit different than the rest. I'll grab the Dragster one. You'll see the structure itself is actually 3D, opposed to most Nanocoasters, which are just the 2D, like the bottom. So, I'm going to kind of go through a few little things to kind of help you build this, make sure all your supports down here at the bottom are all together, and we'll get right into that. And I'll show you on the KingDa one. Again, everything that goes for this KingDa one goes for the Top Thrill Dragster one as well, and the King Cobra that was released a while back, which I'm not sure how many people still would need help with that, considering that came out so long ago, but I'll go through this and show you some tips and tricks for this. Now, the first step to any Nanocoaster, of course, is getting your base off of, the coverings off of your plexiglass base. Then your next step will be to cut this out. For tricks to do that, I always use a X-Acto knife on a cutting board. That's my preferred way, because it doesn't bend it as much for the way I do it. If you want to see more on that, you can go to the tips and tricks video. I'll leave that as a link in the description. I'll go more in depth about the cutting and other things to do with doing the base and other things. This one's just strictly for KingDa or Dragster. So I'm going to get this all cut out, and then I will be right back. Anytime you're building your Nanocoaster, make sure you are following your instructions exactly how they are, because, well, the KingDa one, the Stratocoasters aren't necessarily a big problem for this, but like a lot of the more intricate ones, like Goliath at Magic Mountain, there's a lot of pieces that will just not go in if you go out of order, because there'll be other pieces blocking it. But just make sure, anytime you're building a Nanocoaster, follow these instructions, step 1, 2, 3, 4, yada yada yada. But you'll notice with this one, the first step is to take all these wings of the tower, or forward facing supports, or backward facing supports, sorry, and bend them back. So the first step, just take all these and bend them back. Okay, now they have this completely done, what you're going to want to do is then take it and put it on just as you'd expect. Bend one of the tabs to the forward. Notice one tab I have forward, and the second one you want to go backwards. That'll allow this to not be quite so floppy once it's done. Now again, once you get this back piece in, that's also going to help a lot with that. When you put this on, you're going to want to put it on here. My suggestion is get it as close as you can, and then you want to slide it between all of those cross members, and then you want to slide it up a little bit, slide it down to that top notch, and once you got your positioning correct, then you slide it into the back. Be careful, make sure it doesn't pop out. Slide it into the back, and then bend that tab so it can't go anywhere. Now you see that is locked into the top for this back support, as you can see right here is step 2. Well, the second part to step 2, so 2.2 or 2.5, whatever you want to call it. That's essentially your first step, is just getting that tower made. Now your next step is to add your top hat track, which this track I know has caused a lot of people problems, because if you look closely, just like the real ride, it hooks or curves back down to go crest the top. Well, you'll notice there's a spot on either side where it is perfectly vertical. Yeah, that's the key part of that. So what you're going to want to do is grab a little bit in from each side where it's vertical. You want to twist it 90 degrees. where that is perfectly vertical. Because if you don't do where it's vertical, you will have parts that will extrude in weird ways, and then it will not set in place properly. So again, you want to just kind of mess with this a little bit, get this twisting how you want it, and then once you're happy with it, then you'll take it and carefully put it in place. So first off, line your bottoms up with the notches in it, and then as you slide it down, you want to line your top up with the supports for this. So again, you want to do this nice and carefully, make sure everything sets perfectly in place. Okay, now notice how I kind of missed it on that, so you should be able just to kind of pop it up and back down. Now, not quite in place as you can see. There you go. That looks like it's in place, locked in. Then we're going to do the left side first, the downhill portion of the top hat. And now, slide this other side in. Lock that in place. Now you'll notice this isn't quite right, because this the main part of this bowed out a little bit in the process. So what I'm going to do is kind of work on this stuff a little bit, bend this out. I think this may be all kind of catching and pushing it out. So I notice this is bent. Okay, that looks like as close as it's going to get. You'll notice these supports should just about touch. Again, you can do a little bit of bending to the top hat to get everything to fit in place, because again, it's a really tight fit, so it can be structurally sound, so nothing will pop off. But in the end, all three of these pieces should be connected right here at the top. Now to finish this off, you're going to take your last track piece, put it in place. Your second to last track piece, the straight section, the station and launch section. You're going to want to just pop that right into place. Easy peasy, especially compared to the top hat portion of it. Make sure all your steel tabs should be completely hidden. Since this is a painted Nanocoaster, there should be no steel showing whatsoever on this. It should all be the paint. Except for appears the base of the top hat looks like that might be steel. I can't tell if that's steel or painted footers. Alright, now the last thing you're going to want to do is take your airtime hill, bend these out to the right of it, or into the infield of the coaster. Again, just be careful not to full on bend the whole piece, just make sure you're bending just those pieces out. And then just set that right in place. Now again, for the dragster model, the top hat is identical, so other than this final airtime hill, it will be an exact build to the KingDa one. Now overall, I like both of the models. The dragster one, the paint on it, I think is a little bit more eye-catching, just for the fact you have a lot more colors going on with Top Thrill Dragster opposed to KingDa. Once I get this together, I will bring the dragster one out for comparison. Just like that. Just like any other Coaster Dynamics station. For those who have multiple Nanocoasters, you will notice every station is identical with these Nanocoasters. And you'd think I'd be able to get it in better. There we go. That was being a bit of pain. Alright, and of course, as is tradition, finishing off with the sign, which will go right here. Now you bend that tab backwards, And what I personally do, you don't have to, but I always push that sign back at a 45 so you can read it from all around. Now, there you go. Now here's your full 360 view of the coaster. So here's all three of the Strata Nano coasters that were released in park. There was a fourth one that was called the King Cobra that was released on the Coaster Dynamics website a long time ago. It was one of their first Nano coasters. But it is identical to the KingDa one. Outside it's not colored. But obviously the only real notable difference is that the camelback after the main drop on KingDa. But other than that, I personally like the striping on Dragster a little bit more. KingDa again does have that extra airtime hill, but it's hard to tell, but they are an identical height. Alright, this has been Troy with Coaster Universe. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Alright, bye.